Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? And hopefully you all are having a wonderful day today. So when it comes down to it, I thought that I would talk about this really quickly, just because I thought that it was a conversation that was needed, or something on the know that I thought would be particularly interesting. And this video, of course, is going to be more over the dark side when it comes down to, or the darker side of that of sports, and maybe sometimes that of boxing especially. When it comes to the sport of boxing, or whether it comes to the sport of MMA, but especially in the sport of boxing, because boxing is a sport to where if you tend to lose a fight, not only can it be very highly humiliating and embarrassing for that fighter that ended up losing the fight, especially for someone that considers themselves to be on a very, very high elite level. Not only can it be very embarrassing and humiliating for that fighter, but sometimes when they end up losing a fight, they're sometimes never mentally the same ever again. I watch this one channel that I tend to hold in very, very high regard. This one channel named Chronicles of Judo 144. And for those of you, of course, that have never checked out his videos, go ahead and check it out. But he has a lot of the same opinions overall that I tend to have. And when it comes down to it, what Teofimo Lopez, and we're going to talk about Teofimo Lopez in this video, I don't think that there's any better of a prime example or current example than some of the dark things that some of these boxers do overall have to deal with than that of a Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez, unfortunately for him, he does not only seem to have drama or problems within the boxing ring, he also seems to have drama outside of the boxing ring as well. And we're going to talk about that here in a bit. But just to talk about Mr. Teofimo Lopez, it does appear, especially when you have checked his Twitter, that Teofimo Lopez within the past year, and now especially ever since that George Kambosos Jr. lost, that Teofimo Lopez has been going on some sort of mental breakdown. And it really almost has gotten to the point to where it seems like he basically is suicidal, which of course is no laughing matter whatsoever. But this is not the first professional boxer that I've seen overall go through this, and it certainly will not be the last. A lot of these boxers, of course, when they suffer that first loss in their career, a lot of them overall, of course, are heartbroken. They're humiliated. They feel basically at rock bottom when it comes down to it. And that's why when you take a look at these certain boxers, like Oscar De La Hoya, or Mike Tyson, or Victor Ortiz, or Ricky Hatton, or Buster Douglas, someone like that, a lot of these fighters, after their careers, or even during their careers, they have a big amount of drug problems. They may go on marijuana, crack, heroin, when it comes down to it, alcohol. Oscar De La Hoya, for those of you, of course, that know him, he's a very, very big drinker. Because, of course, they tried to escape the reality that if they maybe would have done things differently, that they could have been even greater in their careers. And I think when you take a look at Mike Tyson in certain interviews, he does regret some of the things that he did in his career. When you take a look at Oscar De La Hoya, I do think that when he especially takes a look at Canelo Alvarez at the current moment in time, and some people don't, they may not agree with me on this, but I think this is the case. I think that Oscar De La Hoya, now that he takes a look at Canelo Alvarez, and people are starting to finally put Canelo Alvarez over some of these fighters. Oscar De La Hoya and Juan Manuel Marquez and some of these other guys. Now, Marquez, he's not really a guy that I've heard has been into drugs, so I'm not going to talk about Marquez that way. But Oscar De La Hoya, of course, what we know about him, he certainly has been involved with drugs. He's been on that cocaine when it comes down to it. He's been on, alcohol for a very, very long time. He's been a heavy drinker. Mike Tyson, of course, has pretty much been known to be on every drug known to man. And there's been a certain amount of other boxers that once they lost, they really let their life slip out of their hands. Whether it be Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton said that after he lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr., that he was damn near suicide and that he almost killed himself. Because, of course, he thought that he was supposed to win that big fight against Floyd Mayweather Jr. Of course, for a lot of us that are on the outside looking in, for those of us, it's not that big of a deal because most of the losses that Ricky Hatton suffered, they were pretty much the two top pound-for-pound fighters of the day. But of course, a lot of these fighters are a lot of athletes, not even just boxers, but a lot of the time boxers, because once again, to a lot of these guys, there is nothing more humiliated than basically getting your ass kicked overall in the ring or getting outperformed. And I think that Teofimo Lopez, he is in that situation. And when you take a look at Teofimo Lopez, I think that, like I said, just to bring up this channel once again, Chronicles of Judo 144, he used to bring up something that I always thought was a very, very great point, which certain people overall have to deal with. If you're a person that is highly gifted in an area, which Teofimo Lopez is, especially if you're on a high profile, if you're a person that is a tremendous athlete or a tremendous artist when it comes down to it, or a great musician, basically what Teofimo Lopez, in my opinion, suffers from is the curse of the gifted. And basically what that means is that you're so gifted, usually compared to your contemporaries, that basically, yes, it can bring in a lot of positives, but of course for certain people that may be gifted, there may be a certain amount of negatives as well. Just like, for example, if you want to talk about a musician or a musical artist, there may be certain musical geniuses out there, when it comes down to it, but a lot of those guys, like if you want to take some of the grunge artists, for example. Now, of course, some other people, they may allege that, like if you look at certain channels, they may allege that they've been sacrificed and all that other stuff. I wouldn't know a whole lot about that, but, that's for other channels to say. But at the end of the day, there's certain musicians or certain athletes or certain people that are very, very gifted. They feel alone. They basically feel overall that they may be one of a kind. Or, in Teofimo Lopez's case, in my opinion, I think that it let him get a little bit too complacent. And I think all in all, it made him not take George Kambosos too seriously. And Teofimo Lopez, like I said, once that fight was over, he's going to regret that move for the rest of his career. I don't think that there is any doubt about that whatsoever. Teofimo Lopez is going to be burned up about that loss for the rest of his career till the end of time. There is no doubt about it. Even if somehow he gets that rematch and ends up avenging that loss. The big question about Mr. Teofimo Lopez is, will he be able to recover in his career? And I'm not so sure, because it's not very, very easy to do that. Teofimo Lopez now for the first time, just like eventually when Devin Haney will probably move up to the 140-pound weight class, you're going to be facing fighters that are just as big as you, maybe overall maybe even have the same athletic gifts as you, and may overall, at least from what I've seen from your last performance against George Kambosos, may have some decent skills over you, or, maybe a little bit more skilled than you. If you're fighting fighters like a Jose Ramirez, or a Josh Taylor, or a Regis Prograis, or even a Montana Love, or some of the other up-and-comers that are coming up in that division, a Gary Antoine Russell, none of those fights, in my opinion, are going to be easy. Teofimo Lopez, in my opinion, he needs to get very focused. I think all in all that he needs to get in a very good point in his life. And unfortunately, what also seems to be a very big problem with Teofimo Lopez right now is, of course, the situation that they call, or that is known as, baby mama drama. Now, I don't know really a lot of the situation. I don't know overall his wife as a person. I haven't really done a bunch of research digging. But what I will say is this, a bunch of athletes and a bunch of boxers, or a bunch of people in general who, of course, may be on a higher platform, sometimes they have gotten themselves involved with partners or women at the end of the day that are not very good for them. And certain times, these boxers or these athletes, they may end up overall getting hooked up with a woman that, maybe eventually or, once upon a time they did not think was going to be bad for them. But once they finally put themselves in that situation to where basically that woman is going to be in your life forever, and she basically is, because now she is the mother of his child. So at the end of the day, Teofimo Lopez, she is always going to be a part of his life. Whether all in all, he wants it to be like that or not, you can try to cut her out, but at the end of the day, that child is both yours. And that's why, in my opinion, I don't call myself a relationship counselor or anything like that, but what I do know is this, especially as a man, with today's times, if you are not very, very careful when it comes down to, especially with the women that you choose, especially as your long-term partner, it can cause you a whole lot of hell, whether it be in whatever category, emotionally, spiritually, monetarily. If you do not overall get the right woman with you, a woman overall that will be with you through adversity, but not only that, but is looking for the best not only for herself, but also for you as well, she is going to put you through hell. It just is what it is. And Teofimo Lopez, unfortunately for himself, he seems to be in that situation. He also seems to have a little bit of issues with the mother and the son. And when I say, issues with the mother and son, what I'm talking about is this. It seems like the mother, at least from Teofimo Lopez's perspective, that the mother will not let him see the son. And that does happen a lot when it comes down to it. And basically the court system, the majority of the time, they are usually on the woman's side. It just is what it is. I'm not trying to, sound super duper, hot here when it comes down to with whatever I'm saying. I'm not trying to go on a hot topic, but it just is what it is. So unfortunately for Teofimo Lopez, at the current moment in time, he is in a very, very dark place. Hopefully whatever happens, he can, work it out with that girl when it comes down to it, if it's possible. Hopefully, all in all, he can find, to be at a good place within, his family, overall within himself. And hopefully for his career, he ends up coming back overall in a very, very decent way. But we'll see all in all what happens. Like I said, it's not going to be easy. And I've seen a lot of boxers that once they suffered that big loss in their career, they were never ever mentally the same again. Whether it be Mike Tyson, whether it be Jermaine Taylor, whether it be, Adrian Broner, or whether it be Teofimo Lopez. Not every boxer, when it comes down to what that loses, is ever mentally the same again. What I'll say about Vasily Lomachenko, for example, is this. I remember when a certain amount of people, especially Teofimo Lopez, he was talking about how Vasily Lomachenko was allegedly a mentally broken fighter. And I remember when Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz, a lot of people said that he was a mentally broken fighter. But those fighters were somewhat able to come back. When I take a look at Teofimo Lopez, he's not only mentally broken as a fighter, he's mentally broken all around. I mean, the way that Teofimo Lopez has been posting lately, he looks like he's about 2 steps away from jumping off a bridge. And I hope that I'm wrong. But Teofimo Lopez, when it comes down to it, I do think that he needs help. And of course, a big part of that is realizing what is good for you, what is not. And if you are going to take, boxing fights once again, and I think that he is itching to get back in the ring because he wants to prove once again that he does have the goods, and I understand that. But you have to be very, very careful at this point in time in your career. I also think that Teofimo Lopez would benefit from a new trainer. But we'll see. I don't know what happens. But anyways, hopefully things go down well for Mr. Teofimo Lopez. I do overall wish him the best, just like I wish everyone the best when it comes down to it. That does not necessarily mean that I like everyone's personality, or when it comes down to it that I like everyone's fighting style. But at the end of the day, I don't wish, evil or bad things upon anyone. And hopefully Teofimo Lopez, hopefully he can get to a high spot at some point in time in his career. It would be very great for his career if he were to even become a 2-weight division champion and somehow earn a belt at the 140-pound division. Do I think that it is likely? At least with that of a Josh Taylor or Gary Antoine Russell or Montana Love or Jose Ramirez or whoever else you want to name, Regis Prograis. Do I think that it is extremely likely? Not necessarily. But what I will say is this. I do wish the best for Mr. Teofimo Lopez, and we shall see what happens a little bit later on. But anyways, that's pretty much about it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.